session for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. Please join Mr. Cooch in the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As always, I'd like to welcome you to our meeting. Those of you who are here and those of you who are there, the agenda will begin. The item number 2 is to approve the minutes of the June 9th, 2020 meeting.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the June 9th, 2020 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who are opposed? That motion carries. Item number 3 is approval of the payment of bills against the city.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to present the bills, accounts payable checks in the amount of $129,233.03 and ACH funds transfers in the amount of $166,457.99.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve payment against bills against the city. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who are opposed? That motion carries. Item 4 is an opportunity for public comment. We have one person signed up for public comment, and Mr. Cooch, will you come forward?
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. I'm here tonight to let you know that I'll be running for city council in November. I'm doing this now. It's a little bit early, but I wanted to let you all know before you heard from somewhere else, so you hear it from me. This is not about the public service fee. I think that you all did the very best you could on the public service fee. It was a very difficult situation for all. However, I'm running because I think that you all could have done a much better job discussing that with the public during that time. I think that if that had been discussed and the public would have been warned and understood why we needed to raise the fee, that would have gone much differently. In the 21st century, I get up in the morning, get my coffee, turn on the TV, and I found out what had happened overnight while I was asleep. We know what everybody had for dinner last night with full color photographs. Why is it in the city of North Bend that nobody seems to understand what goes on here at City Hall? So that's why I'm running. In addition to that, I sit on boards all over the area. Virtually every city, county, government organization and agency is represented except one, except the city of North Bend. The city of North Bend doesn't come to these meetings. I don't know why, but there's a table with a place at the table for the city of North Bend and nobody's there. So I think that we all need to come together as an area to work on the problems that we have with the rest of the county. So I believe the city of North Bend has to have a conversation with the citizens of North Bend, and the city of North Bend needs to have a conversation with the rest of Coos County. So I'll be running for city council based on that. And I brought this signature sheet so y'all can sign up. Here, I'll start here with Jessica. So you can sign my sheet. I'll just be in the back and the red signing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Having no other public comment, we move on to item number 5, presentation by North Bend citizens for good faith government. Welcome.
Gentlemen, just let me know who's going to go first, and I can bring up the presentation.
Pardon?
Just let me know who's going to talk first.
I will.
Fraser, okay.
Anybody mind if I take this off?
I think we're 60.
Okay, don't want to offend anybody here. Ready to rock? Good evening, Mayor and council folks.
Good evening.
My name is Fraser Pruitt. I live at 2411 Connecticut. And this is my colleague, John Briggs, lives on Cedar Court. And we're here today to represent North Bend Citizens for Good Faith Government. And we're here to present some information and to get clarification on a few things, and I was hoping we could come and speak for more than 3 minutes today. Go ahead. One more.
You can get with the mouse right in front of you as well.
Oh, perfect. I can drive. Perfect. Anyway, as a group, we agree that the police and fire services are very important to our city, and we deeply appreciate the efforts of our first responders. We're gonna, it says previously, so John will present some information here for some options that we believe make retention of the police possible. And we'll also get some clarification, and this is moving forward on the 2020-2021 budget. So I guess one of the first questions that seems kind of obvious is the public safety fee hasn't been in existence all that long, only a few years. And, in 2017, we had 16 officers. And now, as what we understand, the proposal is to have a reduction in force there of 5 officers, which would bring it to 15. And we still have $785,000 in public safety fee that's available for police funding, whereas in 2017, the fee was not yet implemented. So we were hoping to get some clarification of what's changed in that period of time that would, while we still have a fee of nearly $800,000, we in fact have fewer police. And we were hoping that we could get some clarification on that. Is there any comment on that? All righty, let's move ahead here. So this kind of outlines how the fee and the increase in police costs have kind of mirrored each other, except in 2019. You can see the two graphs follow each other very closely, except in 2019 when the public safety fee far exceeded the increase. Now this is baseline from 2015 expenses. So these are delta costs as opposed to absolute numbers. So we're looking at increases. And this data is taken from the end of year fiscal reports that are available on the city website. So that's the source of that information. Another effect that we wanted to try to get some clarification on tonight was the effect on a contract for services. We understand that we have a contract with the Coquille and Confederated Tribes for police and fire services. And we kind of wanted to get clarification on how these proposed cuts would affect those contracts, and if at all. Can you help us understand that, if there's any effect on that at all? Okay. Well, we do thank you for seeing us tonight, and we're available to have further discussions should you choose to reach out to us. I believe Kaylee has our contact information, so we are available. And without any further ado, I turn it over to my colleague, John.
Mr. Mayor and members of the North Bend Council, I am John Briggs. I reside at 2035 Cedar Court, North Bend. We are here to tell you that the passage of Measure 6177 did not cause the loss of public safety jobs.
She's working on it.
She's working on it, okay. By choosing to cut the police department jobs, you have chosen not to make those jobs the #1 spending priority. The overwhelming attitude of the citizens of North Bend is they value public safety over other functions of the city. That is their number one spending priority. They did not agree with the amount you were charging them. You were not listening. We are here to request that you reinstate those 6 existing jobs into the 2021 budget. We are not here to reinstate the 2 unfilled police officer positions noted in the budget document. New slide. New slide.
She's on it, Jerry.
Okay. No, you're too far.
Back up one.
Back up.
Thank you.
Okay, we have determined that the calculation of the projected unappropriated ending fund balance at June 30th, 2020 is possibly understated by as much as $1 million, as shown on this slide. We would request that you amend the net working capital stated in the resource section of the budget adopted on June 9th by an amount of $585,000 and increase the personnel services of the police budget by the same amount. The adopted budget reduced personnel services by $785,000, which included those 2 unfilled positions at an estimated value of $200,000 during budget discussions. We are not recommending retention of those 2 positions. I do not intend to spend a lot of time going through all the detail I have because it bore me to death. It will bore you as well. So let's begin with the understatement of revenue, which is on the top portion of this thing. The actual tax distributions from Coos County through May 31 were included in your packet. At this time, we do not have the tax distribution for June, which is not received until July. The amount included on our slide is an average of the July 2017, 18, and 19 distributions. We also do not have the distribution of taxes in lieu of property tax, which I understand comes from sales of county foreclosed properties. So we did not include any amount for that. As to other revenue sources, I looked at the budgeted revenue for each line and asked myself if the projections made sense. For example, the community center revenue shows a budgeted amount of $33,000 and a projected amount of $22,000. It is a fact that the Parks Department offices were moved to the community center during the fiscal year, which would reduce the normal rental income. Also, due to COVID-19, there should be a reduction of income from celebrations and events. I believe there are both positive and negative adjustments to the individual revenue sources and that they may be a washout. Additionally, I reviewed the last 5 audit reports and noted that the total income from all sources have been greater than the budgeted amounts. I also noted that the taxes collected in the year for both the projections of 1920 and 2021 were exactly equal at $3,883,280. Go forward 2, please. One more. Nope, it's too far. Where's mine? Go back. Yeah, this one here. Okay. I refer you to the recap of the general fund grand total all expenditures page from the adopted budget. There are 4 columns on the right-hand side. One is entitled Department Projected 6/30/20. This column represents the actual projected expending of the current budget according to staff. I ask you to look at the contingency amount of $250,000. According to the staff projections, all $250,000 will be spent by the end of the current fiscal year. Now, as Councilor Engelke so aptly stated on her Fun Fact Friday Facebook page, and I quote, "Contingency is money that is appropriated for use during the year to deal with unanticipated operating expenditures and/or emergencies that cannot be specifically identified at the time of the budget preparation. Contingency is a one-time money and should not be used for personnel. This would be irresponsible and not good governance." I agree with that statement. However, I would point out that city staff made that projection, not us. Our adjustments to projections column, if you would go to the next slide, please, reduces that spending to zero. We're not suggesting that the 2021 contingency be reduced as shown on the adopted budget. The purpose of the adjustments to projection column is to reduce the projected spending amounts to what we feel are reasonable projections, not to zero out the budgeted amounts. The projections are 98.7% of the budget, which exceeds the 5-year average of 91% found over the last 5-year audit reports. One line item that you have there requires a council resolution. That's in the amount of $152,000 on the transfer to equipment construction fund. That line item would require a council resolution to reduce the appropriated transfer of $458,000 to $349,000 to the equipment construction amount fund by an amount of $152,800 to reflect the actual projected expenditures in that fund of $305,500 for the current year. The adopted expenditures for the next fiscal year are $36,500, and the equipment construction fund would have $50,800 unappropriated ending fund balance at the end of the next fiscal year instead of $203,600. Why would I do that? Because the equipment and construction fund transfer was for the purchase of police vehicles and communications equipment. It only seems proper to apply this $152,000 to keep the 6 jobs rather than sitting unused for the next fiscal year. Research of the 5 prior audit reports lends credence to our reduction of $740,800. On average, as I said before, the city has not spent 9% of its appropriations for those 5 fiscal years. This takes into account all transfers from the contingency to other appropriations that occurred during those years. The current year's appropriation is $8,800,000 plus per resolution 3264 on June 11th, 2019. 9% of that amount is $792,512, which exceeds our amount of $740,800. So I feel comfortable that we have not gone outside of where we should be. I'm going to talk a little about the public safety sub-fund. This is a technique I've never seen before. Didn't even know it ever existed until I was listening to the budget hearings. This sub-fund was for public safety costs, which are police and fire costs. I found the technique very confusing to follow in the budget, and I've been through many budgets. I would like to be sure that I understand it. And what I understand is that you isolated the revenues connected to the public safety cost fee for public safety to equalize the cost of public safety. The sources were the public safety fees, the fines and fees, the intergovernmental agreements, some miscellaneous income, and what is termed transfers from the general fund. I believe a better description of that transfer amount should be taxes collected in the year. If you take that number there and add the amount on the front page of the general fund, it comes up to your total appropriation of total taxes to be received in the year. Finally, in looking at that sub-fund, I found that the intergovernmental agreement revenue line item for 2021 does not include an amount for the Confederated Tribe, which may be as much as $110,000. That adjustment should be made on the amended budget. Okay, now please go to the summary. Yeah. You may not adjust the expenditures more than 10% on the 2021 general fund appropriations, an amount of $762,873. The property tax adjustment, which I showed you, and the unspent contingency in the amount of $250,000 exceeds the required $585,000 adjustment to the net working capital. We are not spending the $250,000 network contingency in the new budget. We are not reducing the unappropriated ending fund balance for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. You have the ability under ORS 294-4456 and ORS 294-438 to amend the council adopted 2021 budget passed by resolution 3280 on June 9th of this year, using the amount of $585,000 to adjust both the net working capital accrual and the police department appropriation. We respectfully request that you direct staff to take the necessary steps to make that amendment prior to June 30th. This will make it more convenient for city staff to comply with local budget law requirements and to show your commitment to public safety as your #1 spending priority. As Fraser said, Kaylee has our contact information should you have any questions.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to item number 6, community and ecosystem resilience on the Oregon Trail.
Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, as discussed yesterday evening, we've been asked by the Coastal Zone Management Program to support their application for a grant. Staff has also discussed yesterday evening, had some concerns about it, but we thought better to be in. They can apply for it without us. Basically, we're supporting this, but better to be in the loop than outside of the loop. Therefore, staff recommended approval, and being a co-signer with the grant doesn't cost the city any money, but at least we're in the loop and can help manage any impacts that do happen.
Mike and I had a meeting this morning, and we asked this question before. We asked if they were going to be involved and how they would do it. And since, the court has a mandate for economic development, they were combined with SEDC at one time, but they broke away, they took it back. They're not in support of this. They just say it's adds another layer of bureaucracy and impediment to business. And since we're definitely in need of business and jobs in this area, I'm not messing.
Another layer, potential layer.
I don't disagree with that.
That may affect it, is what it boils down to. And one more thing you gotta hurdle in order to have a business in Oregon.
Any other questions or comments?
What's the deadline to, is it?
Okay.
Oh, is this like a one-shot deal where?
Well, again, I mean, part of what staff felt is they don't need our support to be, to go ahead with their grant application and potentially obtain the grant. Obviously, it gives them better odds. The issue amongst discussions was at least we, being a co-signer to it, we're involved in it and be able to shape it. And that was really, I don't see any, personally don't see any gain out of it for the city of North Bend, other than being able to shape potentially rules and regulations from it. I have my own suspicions also, because things just tend to grow. But again, from staff standpoint, we'd rather be in the loop on it than outside of the loop. And that's the reason for our recommendation.
Mike, is that pretty much what you gathered from that conversation? I know it didn't sound like the court was going to be involved.
No, even if it's a potential, they don't want another potential layer, and they will get information on it after the fact. They don't have to be a part of it, they will. give you
No, the information will
later.
be there. It'd be able, I'm not gonna say control the information, but at least shape some of the, and that was basically our reason for it, because I didn't even know what they meant by coastal zone resiliency.
And Tim last night as well.
Absolutely. We did too when we first read it.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion? All right, assume that it dies for lack of a motion. This one. Thank you, sir. Item number 7, agreement to serve with utilities allowing opening of Connecticut streets.
City staff has received a request for city council to approve the opening. Obviously, this would go through planning commission and final approval for acceptance of any improvements developed in city right away. However, at this point, we've been requested to allow the opening of 156 feet of Connecticut Street off the end of Roosevelt, and connection of sewer utilities to the city of North Bend from Red Moon Development to develop up to 15 single-family dwellings, and that's with the benefit to the city, other than the street fee. The street fees that was projected in there is based on what our cost to maintain the street would be, no matter how many residents there are. But the sewer fees projected and connection fees were based on 15 single-family dwelling connections. Staff recommends approval of it. Helps. It doesn't really cost us anything, and we have the capacity to handle it.
Mayor, I'm gonna recluse myself on this one.
Noted. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agreement to serve with utilities and allow opening of Connecticut Street.
Second?
Been moved second to authorization to award Madrona Street. Under the agreement to serve with utilities and allow opening of Connecticut Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who are opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, sir. Number 8 is authorization to award Madrona Street paving and utility rehabilitation project.
Mayor, members of the city council, we received 2 bids, one from Lasky Clifton Inc., one from K&E Excavating on last Thursday for the Madrona Street project, which includes storm lines, sanitary sewer replacement, which by the way is 68 years old, and finished paving of Madrona Street from Madrona Court to Main with some lane paving over sewer extensions, which are on Main and Madrona to 14th Court. The parent low bidder was Lasky Clifton Inc. At, get the numbers right here, $478,828.40. Staff recommends that city award to Lasky Clifton Inc., the apparent low bidder, lowest responsive bidder, contingent upon no valid protest being received within 7 days.
Questions or comments? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to award the bid to Lasky Clifton for $478,828.40.
Second.
It's been moved second to authorize the Madrona Street paving utility rehabilitation project. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who are opposed? That motion carries. Item number 9 is approval to purchase PLC and SCADA system.
Mayor, members of the city council, our wastewater superintendent Greg Mooney presented last night the reasons for upgrading our SCADA system, which are primarily the existing system. As you're well aware, this is a computer system. It's a 16-year-old computer system. Things in the computer age don't last forever. They recommended, however, Primex, which was a higher quote by a little over $4,000. The primary reason is the Primex system is expandable. The tag system that was proposed is strictly a replacement. So there's added value both in a new cabinet, which has a plug and play capability, and some new software that to upgrade the system, which we see potentially is our probable need in the future, primarily because we're going through a permit upgrade at this point, and we'll be required to monitor a few more items. Therefore, staff recommended award of the SCADA system to Primex Inc. in the amount of 36,000. Excuse me. 36,018.
Any questions or comments? Motion.
I make a motion to accept the Primex proposal over the tag quote to upgrade the PLC and SCADA system.
Been moved and seconded to purchase PLC and SCADA system. All those in favor? Aye. All those who oppose? That motion carries. Item 10 is public hearing for the supplemental budget.
So you need to open
Yep.
the meeting?
We will open the public hearing to hear input on the supplemental budget. Anyone having that? We're going to hear from you first, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We're required by the state of Oregon budget law to hold a public hearing to discuss the supplemental budget as I'm presenting. In the supplemental budget, we would be transferring in the swimming pool improvement fund, increase the capital outlay by $15,000 due to the unforeseen boiler repair and reducing their ending fund balance. In the Parks Improvement Fund 21, we'd increase the grant expense by $422,583.94, which will be funded by the grant received from the Oregon State Marine Board and the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. We didn't know we were going to receive that grant, so it wasn't originally budgeted.
I'll open the public hearing. If you have a comment on this, please, this is your opportunity. Come forward. Hearing and seeing done, we will move on. Thank you. Resolution number 3282, supplemental budget for year 2019-2020.
Make a motion to pass resolution number 3282.
Chairman, second, approve resolution number 3282, supplemental budget for year 2019-2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who are opposed? That motion carries. Item number 12 is resolution number 3283, appropriation transfers for year 2019-2020.
Mayor, Council, this resolution is to transfer funds within the general fund with the budgeted funds remaining in the administration department. The amount of that would be transferred is $20,000, City Hall $12,000, $85,000 into the city attorney expense, and that's due to a lawsuit, and then $53,000 out of contingency. And it doesn't change the ending fund balance for the general fund.
Do you have a motion?
Make a motion to pass resolution 3283.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, approve resolution number 3283, appropriation transfer for year 2019-2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who are opposed? That motion carries. Item number 13 is resolution number 3284, receiving additional tax revenue and making appropriations for the 2019-2020 budget.
Mayor, Council, this resolution recognizes that we'll receive additional revenue in the transient room tax for this fiscal year. And in doing that, then we would have an additional expenditure because part of those funds go to the City of Coos Bay North End Visitor Convention Bureau. And we also had some additional expenses in other material and services for the replacement of a window on the front of the visitor center, and the hanging baskets were a little more expensive this year, and the replacement of the cash register.
Motion.
Make a motion we adopt resolution 3284.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 3284, receiving the initial tax revenue and making appropriation for the 2019-2020 budget. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who oppose? That motion carries.
Thank
Item number 14, resolution number 3285, authorizing regular fees and charges for the master fee schedule for the city of North Bend.
Yes, sir. In conformance with the limitations imposed by the electors of North End through ballot measure 6-176, the listing of the fees proposed to be raised are attached to the agenda item. The fees are scheduled to be increased by 1.6%, which is the maximum allowable by the measure without a vote of the electorate. And it is the amount of cost of living adjustments being given by the Federal Social Security Administration. It increases all fees that are allowable under our resolutions to be increased by 1.6%. We will have another one at our next council meeting for the stormwater, which requires an ordinance. We do not adopt any changes to stormwater by resolution.
Do we have any idea what the 1.6% is estimated for the next year?
0.8.
It's 0.8. They estimate next year's, are you talking about what 1.6
What kind of
brings in revenue?
1.6 of revenue will raise? Probably not.
No,
I can find out.
we'll get that for you. And next year, the feds are saying they anticipate it to be a 0.8% increase.
Any further questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve resolution 3285.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 3285, authorizing and revising fees and charges for the master fee schedule for the city of North Bend. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who oppose? That motion carries. Item number 15 is request for authorization to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Coos Bay to provide certain services.
Yes, sir. As we discussed yesterday, this is an intergovernmental agreement between the two cities with respect to the city of Coos Bay providing dispatch for fire, as well as providing coverage between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. For no more than 90 days while we figure out what we want to do and need to do for the future. It allows us to meet our contractual obligations to the Hopewell tribe with respect to our services at their casino and hotel resort.
Terrence, did we check on that proration clause that the chief so after brought up last night?
Can we get out of this shoot something out?
We're exchanging drafts with the city of Coos Bay right now. Or you talking about coalition agreement with the tribe also?
No, this is for this,
Is that
should
what-
it not go to 90 days?
Any other questions or comments?
I would rather see us retain our own people and hire somebody else. We can spend the $70,000, and we've got this other issue in the background.
It's that other issue in the background that's is forcing us to do this.
So,
This in a sense gives us 90 days to figure the things out with that coverage, right? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Do we have a motion?
second.
Been moved and seconded, request for authorization to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Coos Bay to provide certain services. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed. Okay, item number 16 is the city administrator report.
Yes, sir. A number of items, as you will note, and our guests have already left, but there in ordinance, in resolution 3283 is the reason why we don't spend contingency fees until toward the end of the year, because there are some things that you just cannot determine. If we do not do contingency fees, you're then sat with the problem of what are you not going to do in other departments in the general fund to take their funding for those unforeseen events. So there is a reason that we do that. There's also a reason why it is always so small an amount. Typically, most places like anywhere between 5 and 10%. Contingency fees, we have, what, 2.5%? Because if that, you know, it gives us a little insurance, so to speak. Next item, clarification, because we had some questions earlier today. Work session on Monday, July 13th, begins at 4 o'clock in the parking lot at Ferry Road Park, where we will have a joint meeting with the Parks Committee, as well as take a tour of the proposed Frisbee golf expansion into that area. And then we will return to City Hall to complete the rest of the agenda, which would be the review of the information on the 14th council meeting agenda.
Are we gonna invite everybody that sit for or against?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Both sides.
Yes. And we did
I don't think-
Frisbees. And I had a email from the city administrator search company, Jensen Strategies. They indicated after one day, they received 1 application from the east side of the Rockies. And they also indicated the majority of the hits on their website were from our neighbors to the south of the state line. So we're off to a start. Actually, it's not bad. One day, 1 application.
It's on for how long? 7 days?
22 days.
Oh, God, we get 22 applications.
Yes. Probably more. I mean, who wouldn't want to come here?
True.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Since meetings have not been meeting, I will assume that.
Mike and I had one this morning.
Okay.
Basically, we adopted the 2021 budget, put out an RFP for any issue off the Trans-Pacific Highway. Short.
All right. Any comments? Graham?
Well, I'd like to thank Andrea Kell for doing the cleanup west of Sizzler. It was along the side of the road. And she moved the city by a day. She did it on Sunday. We were doing it on Monday. With work, I'd like to say that I've been by Simpson Park several times in the last month or so. It's amazing the usage that park is getting right now. It's ridiculous after the trees being cut, contrary to what some people thought. And I'm looking forward to your visit to Bird Road. And I'm sure we'll get Windsor. Frisbee is, of course. That's all I have.
Mr. Richardson?
Yeah, just kind of telling on that. I'm looking forward to the next work session that's going to be at Ferry Road Park, because we did receive a lot of emails in opposition to the proposed Frisbee golf course expansion, and it'll be good for everybody to get a ground view of what it's proposed to be looking like. And the people that oppose it, I'd like them to come and see and meet the people that are actually going to be, looking into expanding everything, and finding out that they are probably just normal human beings and that's the place with it. And You know, you're not gonna change some people's minds, and that's a taken, but, you know, maybe they'll look at it and realize that it either is a big problem, and we realize it also, or it's not. And that's the kind of stuff we talk about all the time, is working together with the public, getting their input, and making an intelligent decision. That's all I have.
Couple of comments. One, I'd like to apologize to Sven Backman. My comments last week, I had no offense against Sven as much as I did against the urban renewal system. And I made a comment that he hadn't finished the project of the lines going across the street. And of course, I don't have the information on what we actually approved in front of me when I made that comment, because we don't get that information. And I'd like to get it from now on. When we approve the numbers, we should see the whole package. And I didn't have that in front of me. It very much says that it would be done in the future instead of present. So I was wrong on that. So I assume he'd gotten paid. And the other one, I had no intention of saying that he against the system by using the window money up there, but I will say that the numbers that we got, labor, whatever, this, that, and the other thing, it's really hard to read where they go to and what project they were on when you're working on 3 or 4 projects on a building. And I think we need more documentation, better documentation. We need to have the packet in front of us for when we make the final payment. So we know what we're voting on. And the Parks Commission on the disc deal. Seems like our problem has been communication with the people, and it comes from the Parks Commission. Not blaming the Parks Commission, that's the way it's always happened, but maybe we need to bring it up to date, and our reports come at a council meeting, and we hear the report, the minutes of the Parks meeting verbally. I've never seen them written, and we have no time to look at it other than everybody agree, everybody shakes their head yes, don't want to disagree, and it goes on and gets approved, and forevermore it's back to the park system. Maybe we need to see those minutes in real life, like paper, and maybe we need to have at least a week to look at those like we have on all of our other stuff that we do on council, and be able to analyze it, and maybe even talk to some people on that. In this case, talk to some people that are affected, other than the ones that propose something, so you get both sides of the issue instead of one side. So that's my comment. I'd like to see the parks just give us written minutes and get them ahead of time so we can have a week with, at least a weekend to digest them and see what we can do. Maybe the next work session. So that's all I have.
Okay.
So I too am looking forward to the Ferry Road Park field trip, and I think that you know the map of the proposed disc expansion of the disc golf course, and things look a lot different in person than they do on paper. So I'm really anxious to see what that looks like. I love it that we're having a joint meeting with the park committee. And I just, a reminder to the citizens, I believe the minutes are all online, right? They can, the park committee minutes.
Park
So-
committee doesn't have minutes.
Okay, so they don't have minutes, it's just the council minutes that are online.
Yes.
So those are things that I want to just continue the public to get involved in. You know, it's great. We have, I see for the first time, two citizens in the room here. Levi Plow is a North Bend resident, and Ron Cooch. And Ron, thank you for your sincere comments. Good luck with your election. So yes, anybody who is interested in what's happening at Ferry Road, please come to that open meeting. It's outside, so we can have up to 100 people show and walk the course with us as well.
Until 4 p.m.
Or 4 p.m.
Yes.
4 p.m. on that Monday, 13th. I believe. Also, I just want to say again to Terrence, thank you. Last night, he gave us examples of equity and inclusion statements. I made a few remarks, and some of the other counselors did, about some of the recent events that are happening, and I feel it's very important that this council make some sort of statement. So Councilor Slater and I were tasked with taking a look at some of these examples and bringing that to the next, well, not the next work session, but bringing it forward sometime here then in the next month. And so I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do that. That's all I have.
Councilor Carbone? You know, in my 24 years here, the most difficult, the most frustrating aspect of being representatives of other parts of our community is to get public input. Not defending anything, I'm just saying it's been very difficult to get people to come forward. And even though we have public hearings and open meetings and telecasting, it's a tough road to get people to participate. Now, to make a decision that they do not think we're careful, then the participation goes up. But it's really difficult to ask for public input and not get any. And so the direction is not given to us yet. But having said that, I think this meeting at the Fairwood Park will be a good example for us to follow and get into. And again, that would be all I have for the evening. Is there any other business? Whoops.
I'm just curious, someone
You know, this is, you know, okay, go ahead.
stated that the Parks Commission doesn't have minutes.
Yes.
We have reports from the,
They have reports, but we don't get a written minutes in our packet.
Right, well, I'm just, isn't that required?
it's an advisory.
All right, it just seems that when we were talking about trees, one of the comments is we didn't get the minutes.
And the parks, well, Brian comes after each meeting, and sits before the council and tells them what transpired at this meeting.
Okay.
The parks committee does not make decisions. They're an advisory committee. They recommend to the council after they go over the different parts of the subject. So if there's no other.
Street closure for Sheridan. As I explained yesterday, we have a street blocking application for Sheridan between Clark Street to the alley between Lombard and Lewis for 4th of July for the afternoon.
Neighborhood celebration?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody's moved back to the neighborhood, and so having a party to celebrate.
You say there's 2 locations?
It's from the corner at Clark and Sheridan to the white picket fence.
It's a big neighborhood.
It's not, yeah.
I don't think we need to have a vote on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Then move second to allow 4th of July neighborhood celebration. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Thank you, ma'am. And seeing no other business, we stand adjourned. Oh, let's get urban renewal. All right.
You thought you were gonna make this quick.
Okay, we will now open up urban renewal agency. Approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
And with a second, approve the minutes of the last urban renewal agency meeting. And open up the minutes, sir.
Yes, sir. There is a request by Little Theater on the Bay for a partial reimbursement of phase 4 work that they have done. They completed $52,395.38 of cost of their phase 4, which is $350,000. The urban renewals commitment for phase 4 is $60,000, so they are drawing down with this application $26,197.69, leaving a balance for the urban renewal future reimbursement of $33,000 $802.31. And to date, of the $500,000 that we had committed to Little Theater, they have spent $326,197.69 should this application be approved.
Any comment?
I make a
motion we approve the distribution.
second.
Been accepted to approve the facade improvement grant reimbursement, so we'll see it on the bank. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Actually, I don't think it's a facade improvement.
No, sir.
Just
It's just the improvement of the.
Right.
Still the
special.
Yeah.
All right. So we move from that, let's go back into regular session. Did we vote on that?
Yep.
Okay, so we're ready to go. Seeing no other business, let us adjourn.
Mike, the water board's gonna be closing.